aren't you more relaxed now? I got a call from OSHA. You got to stop doing that jumping thing. So I think we'll do this from now on. Works pretty well. Or maybe sometimes I'll do it. The first half I'll jump, and depending on how that goes, the second half. Well, thanks so much for coming to the. Well, you're here already, so you came back, which is good. How many of you got something to drink? I'm just curious. I saw some. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Holy's like, I have a Coke. Yeah. So before we get started with the second half, I do want to say a few words of thanks to a lot of folks that make this whole thing possible. First, I'd like to recognize our board members and volunteers. It takes a lot to run the back-end administration. Could I please have a round of applause for all the board members and volunteers? Stand up if you're out there. Yeah, the programs. The rest of them are in the lobby, making sure none of you leave prematurely. The doors are actually locked right now. They gotta stand the whole piece, And of course, it wouldn't be possible without some of the fearless musicians. Now, before I recognize the musicians, I will say, I think we are now up to, I want to say 4 COVID casualties. It's, the hardest thing about COVID right now is, honestly, it's like running an airline. We almost have to oversubscribe knowing that a few people will miss the flight. And so we have a few people who caught COVID. A bass player, a violin player, they just kind of dissipate like the clouds, But then if a wind player is missing, then we're really kind of hosed. So we do have a couple folks who are subbing that I want to recognize. One is Nick in the low brass and trombone. As well as Josh Daly on trumpet, who played with us like 12 years ago. So, really appreciate all their efforts. But I just want to, can we just have one more hand for Sing Wei? A lot of work to prepare that piece, and she didn't catch COVID, so that's two points right there. Finally, let's have a round of applause for all the musicians of PSO, all the volunteers, please. We love coming together each week, practicing, going out for beers afterward, practicing, going out for beers. We do that each week. That's the pattern. And we just love performing for a great audience like yourselves. If you want to get involved, we're in need of board members and would love to have your time and talents. So if you have any interest, come and once the door is open, you can go and talk to one of the board members down there and just express your interest. We'd love to have you participate. Now, before we get on with the second half, I do want to say a few things about the piece, and I'm actually looking to make sure I don't forget. I'm getting old enough that I need to make sure I don't forget something. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about each movement and kind of what to listen for here, right? Now, the first, to give a little context, Prokofiev spent a lot of time after the first Russian Revolution in 1917. He went overseas and spent a lot of time in the U.S. and Europe, kind of lived outside of the Soviet Union. And then come in the early 30s, where things were getting a little dicey. You got the Depression. He was missing Russia, and Stalin was still in power. He actually made a decision to actually return and come back to Russia, which he knew was probably going to be a one-way trip, but he missed Russia enough and he wanted to do that. This particular piece was composed in 1944, which was obviously World War II was coming to an end, and so he really wanted to celebrate the human spirit, and that's really what the motif of this piece is. Of course, from a Russian standpoint, they kind of used it a bit from a propaganda element around, at that point they were being victorious and coming into Germany. But nonetheless, for him, he almost wanted to, just like now, probably, not think about war and all the tragedy, but just, is there some good in humanity? Now, I want to talk about, in the first movement, one of the things that he's so good about, you're going to hear a few different melodies get introduced, opening with da, 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 very catchy melodies. Da, 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 coming in the flutes, and what he's so good at is actually doing, throughout the movement, then a mashup of some of these melodies. So as you listen to this movement, listen to the mashup. And I just want to give you an example of what I'm talking about. This is actually an Instagram thing I heard. So I just... And the reason why that, and of course it gets millions of views, I don't know why. It is actually, I watched it like 10 times, it was pretty catchy. But it's basically because in pop music it's the same 4 chords over and over, right? So you can pretty much transpose a lot of these pop songs, and then, but when you hear Prokofiev, it's way more difficult to do that. So think of that Prokofiev mashup, and how much harder it is to do than what you just heard on the Instagram post. It is a cool channel, I will say. There's a lot of cool mixes. Anyhow, the second movement is, I want you to think about being in a Soviet factory. Sorry. In a good way, you got a job, you got a paycheck, right? But when you're working in a sort of top-down thing, you don't want to be too slow, you don't want to be too fast. So it's all about being right into and I sort of think about, how many watch the first Lego movie? Everything is awesome. So that's kind of when I'm looking for the orchestra, you help me challenge this. I want everybody to be steady, not too slow. If you're too slow, it is the goulash to you, not the goulash, the other one. Goulash is no. That's tasty, right? If you're too fast, right? You're gonna look like you'll be like Jack Ma and stuff like that. They'll squash you down like Alibaba. So you don't want to do any of that sort of stuff. You're doing it right in time. So think about that sort of factory sort of feel of the second movement. Now the third movement. It's the slow movement of the piece, and what's kind of cool about this movement is the rhythmic juxtaposition of 3 against 2, and it's like dum dum dum. Some people do that, and some people da 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 da. I just want to try something, okay? It can just work the thing out. The orchestra knows it's got they're groaning here. I'm going to divide you in half here. You get to decide if you're this side or that side, okay? And I want you to clap with me. And we're going to try to do it, just so you get a feel for it. I'm going to put this in my pocket just for a second. Okay, ready? Let's start. Can we just try it one more time? Just try it one more time. Ready? And okay, yeah, you got it, right? So it's for this feeling of it's kind of this feeling like a relationship. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're arguing, sometimes you're happy, and every beat is this dysfunctional relationship, right? Coming in and out. So, there's my mic. So think about the third movement. Listen to the 3 against 2. Okay. Now the fourth movement is the what I call the rebellious duck movement, and the reason why it's this. It's really a happy mode. Da ya da ya da. But what happens? He actually has a lot of very fast 16ths that make it a very, very hard movement. But you're supposed to have it still be very happy. So if you think of a duck, the duck is very happy on the water, but then underneath, right, and so this is where you just kind of be both relaxed, on the top, but then appreciate how fast these guys are, particularly over here. You see them like angry at me? It's because this is a very hard piece, and some of them are kind of rebelling at me, just so you know. They're the feet. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed Percola's Fifth Symphony. Thank you.